Hi everyone, it's Monica and welcome back to Taylor-Made Cards for You. Well, today I'm participating in a crafters video collaboration using my kit Harvest Fair. And I'm going to be creating 4 cards for you today using this kit. Now this kit definitely is a fall vibe, has a fall vibe to it. And there's some wonderful colors and images and ephemera to create lots of items. So what I decided to do is to go ahead and size down my paper, which is what you're seeing here. Typically the kit will come in 8.5 by 11 pieces, and I sized it down to create 4 cards. And then I also printed out some of the ephemera pieces so that I can use those on top of my card. Now the kit comes with some ephemera pieces, it comes with paper, it comes with tags, it comes with lots of digital items to create some wonderful fall cards. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so the first thing that I did, of course, is I sized down the 8.5 by 11 piece papers, and then I cut them out. Some of them I used a die cut, and some of them I used just my trimmer. And these are a couple of the die cuts that I used. I wanted to use the Sussex postage stamp die, not only for the background, which is the bigger die, but also to cut out some of those smaller postage stamps. And I sized it perfectly so that way you could cut out those smaller postage stamps using the smallest die. And then on another one of my backgrounds, I used that die that had the jaggedy edges. And then I also cut out some paper using this pocket die because I thought the tickets would fit really fun in there. And then while I was digging through my dies, I found this one that I hadn't used ever. So I thought I would go ahead and cut that out to see if I could do something with my card. Now, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and create 4 cards here. So whenever I have ephemera pieces and I know I'm going to make matching cards, typically what I'll do is I'll cut out all of my pieces and then I'll just start separating my paper and my ephemera pieces, so that way when I decide to go and actually glue down over to here my pieces, I already know what pieces are going to go with what card. Now, while I really didn't know what my layouts were going to look like, I had somewhat of an idea. I knew that for the postage stamps, I wanted to use that postage background, so I went ahead and I put that with that background. And then for the pocket, I knew that I wanted to use those tickets as well as the Harvest Fair ride ticket. So I figured out which one I wanted to use on that background, and then I added my Harvest Fair ticket. And then the other 2 cards were going to be one of them with that little frame that's on the top right-hand side. And then I just have to figure out which ephemera piece is going to fit inside the pocket. And I think ultimately I decided to go with the acorn, I want to say. I tried a couple different pieces, but the acorn seemed to fit the best. So that's what I ended up going with. And then for my last card, which is the top left-hand side, I ended up just going with an image. And the image that I ended up using was a lady that had a harvest basket. And I ended up putting a nice sentiment as well. So once I had a general idea of what pieces were going to go for what card, I went ahead and got out my distress ink and I started adding some ink to the outside edges. And this just helps get rid of any of your white pieces that you might have from die cuts, and also just to give it more of a vintage feel. And then I got my 3-in-1 beacon and I started layering my ephemera pieces as well as my paper. Now this is a great way to create a set of 4 cards because they're going to have some similarities, but they're going to all be different. So it's a nice way to create a nice 4 set, especially if you want to give it for a gift or just maybe have it in your stash to be able to use it for some fall cards. It's just a really nice, quick way to be able to put together some kind of matching cards. Okay, so I went ahead and I added that ribbon to the top of my tag, and this was a simple add. All I did was get my stapler and staple it right on to cover that little round hole. So I didn't have to punch out a hole or worry about that at all, but it still does give it some nice texture as well as some nice coloring to match that craft cardstock. And then I'm going to go ahead and just figure out my layering here. As you can see, I adhered my postage stamp die cut a little bit off center, and then I'm going to use the rest of that space just to add my card. And I'm going to be using my 3-in-1 beacon, so I'm just kind of figuring out exactly what my placement is going to be for my postage stamps, and then I'll come in with my 3-in-1 beacon to go ahead and adhere it down to my card. And then once I had my pieces exactly where I wanted them, then I did come in with some of my Mod Podge to just help seal it and help it stick. If you ever done decoupage, you know that sealing it with some Mod Podge really helps to make sure that it isn't going to go anywhere, and it's just overall great for layering. The Mod Podge that I am using is a antique color, so it does add some nice vintage coloring to it as well. All right, so that pretty much takes care of the first card. So at this point, you could pretty much call it a day, or you can bring out some of your stamps like I did here. And I just wanted to go ahead and just try to add some of my stamping in. So I had one of those stamps from Tim Holtz. This is the mushroom stamp set. And I am using some of that background dots just to add a little bit more interest. I did come in with another label, which I stamped right there. And then also I used one of the number stamps as well, just to give it a little bit more interest. Okay, so for the second stamp, it's going to be a very easy layering card. And I'm going to be working with the stamp set that has this beautiful sunflower. Just getting some of my distress ink, and I'm inking up the edges, just again to cover up some of that white that may have come through when I cut the die, and also just to kind of give it a little bit more of an antique feel, or a vintage feel, I should say. So once I have all of my ink on my edges, I'm just bringing in my 3-in-1 beacon. I'm going to go ahead and adhere my base, and then I will directly adhere that sunflower background. Now this is going to be a really easy layering card. I'm just going to basically get one of those beautiful images, and I want to say I chose I believe I chose this girl here, yeah, with the harvest bushel, I guess is what she's holding. And I'm going to go ahead and figure out some placement for her, and then ultimately I'll come in with a nice sentiment as well. Now I cheated a little bit. Not only did I use some of my images from Harvest Fair, but I also used some of my images from Passport to Fall. I figured since I was the creator of these digital kits, I could go ahead and I could kind of add a couple of my kits together. These two kits, well, actually all of my fall kits go really nicely together. Because I am a vintage inspired crafter, a lot of my digital kits are vintage inspired. So a lot of the pieces, especially when you're looking at seasonal ones or holiday ones, they go really nicely together. So like I said, I went ahead and I cheated, and I brought in some of the ephemera pieces from Passport to Fall, and this little sentiment was one of the pieces that was in that other kit. But as you can see, it just matches up really nicely together with this little girl, and I just thought that it was a really nice addition. Now, one of the things that I have lots of, but I don't use very often, are these Nuvo Drops. But these Nuvo Drops not only have some great colors, but they're also great to cover up any boo-boos you might have. So when I was actually adhering my images, I did get a little bit of some glue on the bottom right-hand corner of that girl image. So I went ahead and just added some of those Nuvo Drops to cover that up. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very simple layered card, but it creates a nice fall card to go to your collection. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on the third card. And for the third card, we're going to be creating the card that has that really fun Tim Holtz die where you can stick a picture inside of it. And what I decided to do is just add that acorn because it really was a nice fit. Now, when you're layering onto a card, you probably don't need the back portion of it. You could just layer right over it. But I went ahead and I just used the die as it was intended. So I just folded it over and then I glued the back portion down so that way it would hold the image in place. And then once you have your little Polaroid, you can go ahead and use it as an insert, or you can add it to the front of your card, whatever you want to do. This really is a fun little die cut, so I probably will be using it a little bit more often. It's great to not only add images, but you could add little photos, lots of things I think you can do with it. And the way that it has the frame, you could put a little sentiment on the bottom as well. So once I had figured out what image I was going to put inside of the frame, then I went ahead and I added some ribbon just again to give it a little bit more interest on this card, because it's going to be a very simple card. So I went ahead and I finished gluing down the inside, and then I'm going to add some ribbon to this card to give it a little bit more interest. So once I adhere that frame down and I add the ribbon and then I adhere the background to the card, that pretty much takes care of the fourth card. So as you can see, I was able to put together 4 fall cards using this kit without hardly any effort at all. And one of the things that I ended up doing also is I created a little cover to hold these cards. Originally, I was going to make a journal book, but I decided that once I had added the pockets, that it would be a perfect pocket to hold some of my fall cards. Okay, so as I indicated, this is a video hop, and all of the creators are going to be using this wonderful digital kit called Harvest Bear. So you're going to be getting lots of inspiration and ideas for using this kit. And there is going to be a giveaway as well, so you're going to want to leave a comment on every video to be entered into a drawing to win the digital kit. Now, I'm also going to be giving away a second freebie or a second giveaway, and that giveaway is going to be the 4 cards that I created here, along with this little card holder that is perfect to house these cards. So when you open this up, you're going to see it has 2 pockets and it houses the cards perfectly. And you're going to get not only the 4 cards, but you'll get the 4 envelopes along with this cute little journal cover. So as always, I'll leave a list of all the products that I've used to create the cards along with the links to the stores. And if you've enjoyed my video, I would sure appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And remember, like I said, this is a video hop, so you're going to want to check out the link below to be able to hop to the next video. All right, everybody, I hope that you've enjoyed my video on how to create 4 fall cards. I hope you guys have a wonderful fall and fun hopping. All right, we'll see you again next time.